take this picture for me. I can't use it anymore. It's getting dark to see. Feel I'm knocking on heaven's door. 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 Mama put my goals in the ground. I can't shoot them anymore. The long red cloud is coming down. I feel